we're going to be looking at in particular. If you have certain information or request about certain areas of a shooting that you'd like us to explore, we're certainly here to listen to that. We haven't actually begun the project, but I consider today the beginning of the project.
Thank you.
I have a question. Are you, the three of you, are familiar with all the cases already, or you, I mean, you say you haven't started yet?
Well, we haven't, when I say we haven't cracked open the investigative files, in some cases we have reviewed, cursory reviews of the cases. But when I say, actual reviews, I mean writing them up, as a group we get together, we talk about it. So we're sort of in the throes of it, but this is really helpful to us to sort of learn more about the cases. So I think this is critical as far as initiating the review.
I have one question. You guys understand that this is a public safety issue and the time is of the essence, and I don't understand why there's nothing been investigated thus far.
Well, that's an excellent question. One of the things we try to explain is first as a criminal review the case, and the DA handles that. After the criminal case has been concluded, then an administrative review is conducted. We are not conducting the investigations, so you should be clear about that. We are reviewing the investigation. So we can't start a review until the investigation is complete. And you're absolutely right. Timing is of the essence, and if we had our druthers about it, we would start it immediately upon the incident date.
Right, but thus far, we have received a lot of the investigations for the shootings, not the ones, none in 2012, actually, but through 2011, but we've only been in possession of them for about 2 weeks. So it's not, okay, and there will be, I think, 5 of us working and splitting up the cases.
In order to
So it's not something that we're sitting on. Of the 3 that I've been assigned, I've actually reviewed 2 of the 3. And as soon as we get the information, we will start reviewing it.
I have one more question. I'm sorry, I don't mean to
Please
take over.
ask us anything.
Okay, so when you get these documents, how do you decipher between whether or not these documents are fraudulent or not? If the reports are written in with integrity,
That's a really
how do
good
you
question.
decipher between that? Because this information that you're getting has already been passed through hands and hands and hands of internal affairs that we know here, internal affairs at the Anaheim Police Department is very corrupt. Okay, and they will lie in the reports, but you guys get these reports with all the lies, and then you investigate these lies, or you go over these lies.
Right.
And
your concern is very valid. It's a very, very good question. Part of our review is to not only look at witness statements or involved personnel and their declarations on official documents. We also look at coroner's reports. So, if an officer says, it was dark and someone came at me and approached me, and I said, gosh, that's interesting because the bullet entered through the back. Those are things that we would look at and determine whether or not there's veracity issues with this.
Right, the investigation includes not just the officer's summary or reports, or even the DA's part of their investigation. They'll interview everyone on tape, and then they'll write like a 1-page or 2-page summary. We don't just read the summaries and take their word for it. We listen to the audio of the interview so that we can see, okay, well, were they asking them leading questions? Were they just letting them talk? Did they ask all the questions that they needed to ask, or did they just kind of move on? In our experience, we've seen sometimes where they're like, oh, did you see anything? Well, not really. Oh, okay, thank you. And then you move on to the next witness. And when you come to find out, it's like, well, maybe they didn't see, one part of it, but they may have been able to offer relevant information on other parts. So that's what we're looking for.
okay,
But we're reviewing, photographs, video, audio.
You're just not going to take
Summary.
the cop's word for it.
Well, no, that's part of what we do, is, right. And there, as far as fraudulent, you can't prevent someone from writing something that's false.
Right.
But we're looking out for that. That's certainly something that we know occurs, and we're comparing it to different officer statements. We're also looking at, okay, say there was a shooting, what happened immediately afterwards? did the officers all get together in a room and talk about it?
There you go.
Or were they separated? I mean, how was the integrity of the investigation kept? And if we see faults in the manner in which the investigation was conducted, those are things that we will bring to their attention.
Okay.
I was not privy, I did not work on the prior internal confidential reports that OIR has worked on for Anaheim, but my understanding is that this report is going to be different and more transparent. So we will be able to share some of our findings with you, as long as we can do so legally. There are some legal impediments to sharing a lot of information in that if there are any personnel issues that might lead to discipline, the police officers' Bill of Rights provides for privacy for those officers. So it's not like we can say, oh, Officer Joe Smith, we felt he needed to be disciplined, he was disciplined, and this is what he got. So we have to kind of dance around that law.
Okay, I just wanted to ask you this because it's been stated that OIS has been investigating shootings for the last 4 years. Has it been that long that you guys have been
You mean
investigating?
OIR?
Oh, I meant
I'm sorry.
OIR.
OIS test means officer involved shooting, that's why I was.
I meant OIR.
Well, she didn't
I
address
have,
what they've done in
I've
the
been,
past.
from the very beginning, have been part of the OIR group that has done reviews, the past reviews for the department, or for the city. So we have done that, the group has expanded now, so we have new attorneys joining our group. So I'm very, very familiar with Anaheim Police Department. I know what the policies are, I know the procedures, I know in advance really some of the things that we detected or learned from the prior reviews, obviously on the back of our heads as we look forward into these critical incidents.
I got a question. You say you've done this over 4 years. Have you ever reversed a decision or have you ever been successful in?
It's a very good question.
Reversing
The cases that we have reviewed are completed and have already reached, what would you say, administrative disposition. Either they've made a decision about the actions of the officer or not, either discipline or not, that's what I mean. After the case is completed, then we take a look at the case. Our reviews in the past have been to look back and say, this is where we think you went a little south. This is where we think you missed a policy violation. This is where we think you need a policy in place to address this issue. So our scope is not necessarily all about the discipline or actions of the officer, which is critical, but we sort of take a global view because we want to prevent this from happening in the future.
I have a question. You just said that, I just want to be clear about this, that you said that you won't finish the project until the court, either that administrative disposition has been done, is that correct?
In the last two, what I just said right now, the last two reviews we did, the case was already completed, meaning it had already gone through the criminal aspect or phase, and then the administrative review.
But is that your guys' policy and procedure that you wait until after the administrative disposition, is that true?
It's not a policy and procedure, it's what we're hired to do by a particular department. A department could hire us to look at it earlier rather than after the fact.
Okay.
Which is what we're,
But I'm asking,
what we're doing this.
I'm asking specifically on this, for these people, are you going to wait till after their courts are settled and those type of things and then address it?
That's a good question. You're raising lawsuits. Is that what you're raising?
Well, my question is, I guess I heard, maybe I'm wrong, but when I heard you speaking just a few minutes ago, you said when these people were asking about the project, when that was gonna be completed, or if you've looked at paperwork, and
I
you
think
just.
I understand.
My,
Right, go ahead.
my question is that the policy of your office continually just to wait until after everything is done, like for them to say that it's a justifiable homicide, for you to come in to do something? Because is that what you're saying, that you're gonna wait until that stuff is done? I mean, until it gets to that point before you start